Hello and welcome. You're watching The Weekly on RT International, bringing you the latest world news along with a roundup of the stories that dominated the week. It's good to have you with us. Now, Vladimir Putin's first interview with a Western journalist in almost 3 years has sparked a seemingly unprecedented scale of conversation on social media. The sit-down with Tucker Carlson has already been viewed over 189 million times on the American journalist's X account alone. Here's a few highlights for you.
Who blew up Nord Stream?
You for sure.
I was busy that day. Nate, I did not blow up Nord Stream. Thank you, though.
You personally may have an alibi, but the CIA has no such alibi.
Do you have evidence that NATO or the CIA did it?
You know, I won't get into details, but people always say in such cases, look for someone who is interested. But in this case, we should not only look for someone who is interested, but also for someone who has capabilities.
If you had evidence, and presumably given your security services, your intel services, you would, that NATO, the US, CIA, the West, did this, why wouldn't you present it and win a propaganda victory?
In the war of propaganda, it is very difficult to defeat the United States because the United States controls all the world's media and many European media. The ultimate beneficiary of the biggest European media are American financial institutions. Don't you know that? I said let them think how to do it with dignity. There are options if there is a will. Up until now, there has been the uproar and screaming about inflicting a strategic defeat on Russia on the battlefield. Now they are apparently coming to realize that it is difficult to achieve, if possible at all. In my opinion, it is impossible by definition. It is never going to happen. It seems to me that now those who are in power in the West have come to realize this as well. If so, if the realization has set in, they have to think what to do next. We are ready for this dialogue. What's there to work out? It's very simple. I repeat, we have contacts through various agencies. I will tell you what we are saying on this matter and what we are conveying to the US leadership. If you really want to stop fighting, you need to stop supplying weapons. It will be over within a few weeks. That's it. And then we can agree on some terms before you do that. Stop. The BRICS countries accounted for only 16% in 1992, but now their share is greater than that of the G7. It has nothing to do with the events in Ukraine. This is due to the trends of global development and world economy that I mentioned just now, and this is inevitable. This will keep happening. It is like the rise of the sun. You cannot prevent the sun from rising. You have to adapt to it. How do the United States adapt? With the help of force, sanctions, pressure, bombings, and use of armed forces.
Tucker Carlson himself had plenty of impressions to share after the interview ended at the Kremlin on Tuesday. The US host posted a separate video with his immediate reaction to his one-on-one with the Russian leader.
So we just finished our interview with Vladimir Putin. We're in an ante-room in the Kremlin, waiting for our car to come. Having a cup of coffee. I'm sitting here with the folder, kind of old-fashioned, I haven't even opened it yet, of documents that Putin gave me. I've got my nighttime reading. That was quite an interview. It's obvious he's very wounded by the rejection of the West. The United States doesn't like Russia. The US government doesn't like Russia. The West was determined not to be allied with Russia. That's very obvious. That's the whole point of NATO, I guess, is to contain Russia. And Putin is wounded by this. He's very upset about it. His eyes flashed. When we talked about that, as we did, for probably over an hour, he didn't have a coherent theory that he was willing to tell me anyway as to why that is. Russia's not an expansionist power. Sorry. You're not supposed to say that because all the Tory Newlands and all the liars and ideologues who run the State Department want to make him into this, Hitler, Imperial Japan. But The truth is that that's just false. It's just stupid, actually. You have to be an idiot to think that. Russia's too big already. It's the biggest landmass in the world. They only have 150 million people. U.S. officials have said on the record and have said to me, and are telling a bunch of people that part of the terms have to be Russia giving up Crimea. So it's like, if you really think that a condition of peace is that Putin's going to give up Crimea, then you're like a lunatic.
The widely watched conversation has sparked plenty of heated debate in the West, despite many mainstream media journalists having admitted to seeking an interview with Vladimir Putin for years to no avail. Fury came thick and fast at Carlson for having been granted the exclusive sit-down.
Putin talks to an American friend.
And while they may not speak the same language, they also kind of do.
He's what's called a useful idiot. I mean, he's like a puppy dog.
Why he's doing this interview now? Obviously, for the Kremlin, it makes sense if they want to talk.
Tucker Carlson still doesn't have a job. He's in Moscow house hunting, I hope.
Tucker Carlson is not a journalist, not even close.
We also got reaction to the Putin interview from prominent American podcaster Jackson Hinkle. Now, he compared the Russian and US leaders, concluding that one doesn't quite stack up as well as the other.
Well, I thought it was incredible. It's also worth noting that U.S. President Joe Biden is currently speaking on the White House lawn, trying to explain away his mental health decline issues, as we just got a 2-hour lecture from President, or maybe even Professor Putin, about geopolitical history and the future of the multipolar world. I think the biggest takeaways from this conversation, and it's exactly what Tucker set out to do, was to show the Western world that NATO and the West are the ones provoking this endless warfare against the Russian Federation. This visit from Tucker Carlson put the final nail in the coffin for the Western press, the mainstream media, the fake news, which is financed by mega corporations, international monopolies. 20 million in 2 hours is insane. I mean, that outpaces any mainstream media outlet by leaps and bounds. That's really incredible. And I think it also shows the degree in which the American public in the Western world values the words of Vladimir Putin.
The human cost of the war in Gaza has repeatedly hit the enclave's youngest and most vulnerable the hardest. That's been
clips. And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And $19.95 plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell.